evening, I'm Bill Mulholland, and welcome to Good Sports, winner of 3 consecutive PEG Awards, local cable access equivalent of Emmy, in the Best Sports Show category. Tonight we feature St. Raphael Academy assistant football coach Toby Williams, who played defensive end for the 1985 New England Patriots Super Bowl 20 team. Welcome to Good Sports, Toby.
Thank you.
Good Sports is starting to turn into the Williams family affair. We had your daughter Candace on the show about a month ago, the star guard for St. Raphael Academy, and here we have having you on. So your affiliation with St. Raphael, how did that all come about?
Well, as you said, my daughter Candace and Courtney also attend the school, and they're very involved in sports. And when they went to the high school, the athletic director had approached me a little bit, along with the head football coach, Mike Sassy, and asked me if I had any interest in possibly helping the football team. And I didn't know a whole lot about St. Ray's. I actually had helped coach at Bishop Feion High School, and we had started the Thanksgiving Day game a little bit against St. Ray's. So I had some interest in it. I didn't really have time to make a commitment at Feion. And so they asked me to possibly help, and came down a couple of years ago, and I've been there since. Yeah,
well, it's good to see good people at my old alma mater. Now, Toby, you were an all-city defensive lineman for the 1978 Woodrow Wilson High School football team in Washington, D.C., and you selected national powerhouse University of Nebraska as your college choice. Why?
Some of the reason was that I had a brother who was also going to attend the University of Nebraska. We looked at a lot of schools. Some of it really was that we were interested in leaving the Washington, D.C. East Coast area, and the possibility of going to the Midwest and being in a different lifestyle, being part of a very good program, which University of Nebraska had. Obviously, the tradition was one of the best in the nation. We liked what we saw in the head football coach, Tom Osborne. And we both went out in the spring, took a visit. Stayed out there maybe for 2 or 3 days, saw the spring football game.
They fly you out?
They flew us out, and it was fun. That was the first time we'd actually ever been on a plane. Most of our traveling with our family vacations and whatnot was, by car. So that was an experience.
Just you and your brother?
Just the two of us went out. And
now, did you try to sell you guys, you and your brother, as a package? I mean, were both of you going to go to the same college?
Pretty much. We had decided we wanted to play together. We had been playing either on the same team or maybe one team down since Pop Warner. So that was pretty unique for us. The fact that we did play together. We were interested in staying together. I was a defensive lineman and part-time offensive lineman, and my brother was a linebacker and running back a little bit. So we did want to stay together. One unique thing about it, which was good, was that we did not play the same position and have to compete against each other at any time. So a lot of times you'll see siblings who play on the same team, and they may play or share the same position a little bit, and that can be a little tough with the competition. But we went out, and like I said, we were really impressed with what we saw. The stadium, the school, good school academically. Program's one of the best in the nation, maybe the best as far as the program itself.
Now, Toby, you played on the 1978 Nebraska freshman team and was redshirted in 1979. Right. In 1980, your sophomore year, you were named the Big 8 Defensive Newcomer of the Year and selected the second team All Big 8 Defensive 11. Now, 1981, you're 6'4", 250 pounds, and starting as a Cornhuskers defensive end, defensive end. Tell us about your junior year at the University of Nebraska.
Well, we got off to a slow start. We actually started the season 0-2, and I don't think that had happened at the University of Nebraska in a lot of years.
Unheard of, right?
Yeah, right. There was a lot of panic, obviously, but we got off to, like I said, a slow start. We had some problems at the quarterback position. I think the opening game, we went up to play Iowa, and they had a very good team. Hayden Fry was the coach there. I think they beat us 10-0. We were shut out for the first time in a lot of years, played very poorly on both sides of the ball, mostly on offense, but we had a lot of guys banged up. I didn't play, I was injured. We had another 2 or 3 guys who were starters on defense who were injured, did not play. And, Iowa just outplayed us. The following week, I suited up. We played Penn State at home, and they had an excellent team. Kurt Warner was on that team. Todd Blackledge was a quarterback, and they beat us in Lincoln, I think 30-24. Blackledge, I think, ran for 230 yards, and we just couldn't get our hands on them all day. So we were in a tough situation. We were 0-2, and then we had Florida State coming in the next week. So
Bobby Bowden.
Yeah, right? It was good. It was starting to get real ugly, but we kind of pulled it together against Florida State and won a close game against them, and we seemed to kind of get on a roll from there. I think we must have won 7 or 8 straight games, maybe 9. And toward the end of the year, we were actually in a position to win a national championship. We beat Oklahoma, I think, down in Norman. That was the first time I think Coach Osborne had done that in maybe 6 or 7 tries, either the first or the second time. First time I think he had coached a team and beaten Oklahoma down in Norman. But we were actually the first team ever to have an outside chance of winning a national championship with 2 losses. And
you ended up playing in the Orange Bowl.
Ended up playing in the Orange
Clemson,
Bowl.
only undefeated team in the nation at that point in time.
Clemson was 12-0, and
what was the hoopla like for the Orange Bowl? That must have been something different for you.
It was kind of unique because a lot of what Clemson had really done as a coaching staff, they had actually gotten from the University of Nebraska staff.
Oh, really?
Danny Ford was a coach, and he had brought his whole staff out maybe 2 or 3 years earlier to copy a lot of things that our staff at Nebraska were doing, and it was kind of unique because now we're playing them. They obviously know our system, a lot of things that we do, what we like to do. They had a great team. I know they beat Georgia, and with Herschel Walker at running back, and you had Refrigerator Perry playing on the defensive line. He was a freshman. There were a lot of very talented players on the team. A lot of these guys went on and played in the NFL. But as far as a hoopla, there was a lot of excitement, and there were a lot of questions about ACC football because at that time, the ACC was pretty much considered a basketball conference, and
sure.
When you talked about athletics in the ACC, you talked about Tobacco Road and basketball, and I had grown up in that region of the country and knew a lot about it. Most of the guys on our team did not know anything about Clemson. They didn't know a lot about the ACC. If you try to tell them that the school was in South Carolina, they didn't know. They may not even believe you. So the media kind of played it up as Clemson being the upstart team coming out to play Nebraska, a team who had obviously been there and was accustomed to playing in Orange Bowls and that type of thing. And a lot of people really questioned whether they were good enough to play against us and what they were actually going to be able to do.
Okay. And as it turned out, you lost
As it turned out, they beat us in a close game, I think 22-15. They had a great defense. Some of the guys who actually were on that team I played with a few years later with the Patriots, Johnny Rembert and Rod McSwain. I think they had maybe 5 or 6 guys who were #1 draft choices in the NFL. It was a great team that was pretty much underrated on the national spectrum because many people did not see Clemson play, didn't know a whole lot about them. And we went down and played, and they pretty much, it was a good game, but there were times when they really kind of took it to us, and they wound up, like I said, winning a close game. Right. National champion, 13-0.
And you finished as first team All Big 8, and
right.
Your brother Jimmy was the
he was an All-American that year.
Yeah.
He was an All-American, consensus, All-American. He was the Big 8 conference defensive player of the year, and he had a great year. And then later in the spring, he was a #1 draft pick of the Detroit Lions. I think he was selected either 14 or 15 overall, and went on up to Pontiac to play for the Lions.
Yeah. While your brother's going up to Pontiac, you remain in Nebraska.
Right.
You return for your senior year. Nebraska goes 11-1 with your only loss, a controversial one,
right.
to avenge your national champion, Penn State. Talk about your senior year.
Well, like you said, we had a great team, and we had a good team every year. My senior year, we had a really good team. Turner Gill had come on as our quarterback, and I think the year before he had struggled a little bit early in the year as a sophomore, and then after the 2 losses, he became the starting quarterback, and that was what really turned our season around, inserting him at quarterback. But my senior year, he was healthy because at the end of my junior year, actually in the Orange Bowl game, I don't think he played. I think he was injured and didn't play in that game, and that hurt us quite a bit. Going into my senior year, he was healthy. I think he played in every game, and he was a great option quarterback. We had Mike Rozier in the backfield, who was a tremendous running back. Irvin Fryer, who everyone in New England knows was a wing back and a receiver on that team.
Did Rozier was he a Heisman Award winner?
Yes, he did. The following year, he won the Heisman Trophy.
Okay.
But we were, I think, 2-0 going into State College at Pennsylvania, and went up there and had a really tough game against Penn State.
What's that like, playing at State College?
Well, I guess 20-something years ago when we actually went there, that was the biggest crowd that Penn State had ever had for a football game. And we had been playing Penn State every year, obviously a non-conference early opponent. And the games were very good games. They were very competitive. But we were ranked very high, and I think 90,000 people showed up to see that game.
Wow.
Yeah, it was. There was a lot of excitement in the air. I personally liked playing there because they played on grass. I think they still might, but the field in Lincoln, our home field, was a turf field. And I played high school ball. I grew up playing on grass, and Penn State was always grass. It was early in the year. The grass was always well cut, well maintained. The field was in excellent shape, and when you fall down and you bounce, you get up a little better or easier on the grass. But it was a tremendous game. The atmosphere was almost like a national championship game, and we didn't disappoint.
So what was the controversy?
The game went down to the last couple of plays. I think we scored, we kicked off, and we kind of got a phantom penalty for unnecessary roughness on the kickoff, and you can probably call that on every kickoff. So they started, I think, at maybe the 35-yard line. They had a pass reception on a crucial 3rd down situation for a 1st down where a tight end was clearly out of bounds. And then later on, they scored on another controversial pass play where a receiver was out of the end zone. And, if you look at the film, you can see it. But Joe Paterno, to his credit, was working the officials very hard. And that whole drive, he was in someone's face, and they just kind of moved down the field. And whether they were in or not, it didn't matter. They were able to score, and like I said, it was controversial. What made it more controversial is that they actually won a national championship that year. I think a week or 2 later they went out to Notre Dame. They lost to a good Notre Dame team, and then they beat the Herschel Walker University of Georgia team at the end of the year in the Sugar Bowl, and that was Joe's first national championship.
Right, and you guys Nebraska beat LSU 21-20 in the Orange Bowl again.
Right, we finished 3 in the nation.
But you knew you weren't going to win, right? Unless Penn State lost.
Right, Penn State obviously had beat us, and unless they had lost the game, we didn't have a chance. Obviously, if Georgia beats Penn State, Georgia may have gotten a nod because I think Georgia may have had 1 loss. Georgia may have even been undefeated. I think Georgia might have been undefeated. In the last week, I think Georgia may not have been number 1 in the nation. Penn State was 2, and we were 3. So that made it a little worse.
Yeah.
That made it worse.
So you finished all Big 8 in your senior year, played in the East, West, and the Senior Bowl.
Right.
And graduated with a Bachelor of Science in Criminal Justice.
Right.
Now, you were drafted by the Patriots in the 10th round in Ron Meyer's 2nd year as coach. The Pats finished with an 8-8 record, and you started at defensive end after the 5th game of the season in your rookie year. Tell us about your first year as a professional football player, Toby.
Well, the first thing that really surprised me was the size of the players. I can remember getting some information in the mail, I think maybe a press guide and some other things about the team, and I can remember looking through it, and I couldn't believe the size of the players. That was the first thing that kind of surprised me. Everybody was big. I mean, running backs, quarterbacks, it didn't matter. But I can remember coming to mini camp and seeing the team for the first time, and same thing. You know, I saw the size of some of the people, and I was almost in shock. I mean, I was probably 255 pounds, and there were, you know, you could find 280, 290-pound guys all over. You know, it wasn't unusual at all. But, you know, it was a young team. I think the year before I came in, 19 rookies had made the team.
Wow, that's a lot.
A lot, right.
Yes, big turnover.
Right, big turnover, and like you said, a big house cleaning was pretty much taking place. It was a team that needed help. They were looking for young guys who knew how to play, who came from good programs, and they were trying to basically build a team. As far as the age of the team, the age was in the middle a little bit. You know, we had some guys. Julius Adams was still playing. I think he was in his 13th year, but he was maybe the only guy who was getting a little long in the tooth. Everybody else was pretty much in their prime. We had we guys like Steve Grogan, who was just starting to come on and play at his best level. John Hanna was still going strong. Stanley Morgan was playing very well. Raymond Claiborne. It was a good team. Good team, pretty much trying to find itself a little bit.
Now, you said you were intimidated or you were surprised at the size of these guys, right. But at the fifth game of the season, as a rookie,
right.
You're starting. Was that surprising to you? If someone told you right when you went to the first day of rookie camp that you'd be starting in the fifth game?
It kind of surprised me a little bit, but you know, one advantage I did have was that, like you said, no one really expected that. You know, I came in as a 10th round draft pick. I don't think most people even expected me to maybe even make the team. I was successful because of the coaching I had in college and the program I played in. You know, I was a good athlete. You know, I played hard. I had an excellent defensive line coach. I played for Tom Osborne, who was a great coach. And the program was a lot of what really helped me my rookie year. You know, I was ready to play. I knew how to play. I think the question mark on me somewhat, and the reason I was probably a late pick was size. You know, I wasn't a very big guy. But, you know, I was in the weight room obviously a lot. I actually gained some weight obviously over the years. You know, I was still growing. I was still kind of filling out a little bit. But as far as, you know, when week 5 came around, I can remember we had some injuries. Kenny Sims had gone down, and I can remember coming into the meeting maybe on a Thursday or Friday, and we were playing Sunday, and I can remember the defensive line coach telling me I was starting. He wasn't smiling a whole lot. Yeah. Well, he kind of said it like he was disappointed. Oh. So, you know, it wasn't a big vote of confidence. But, you know, I just kind of went out and played and had fun, got better every week. And like you said, we wound up going 8-8, and which was good for our team. I think we might have missed the playoffs by maybe 1 or 2 games. But we had a winning record. We were kind of back in the hunt. And things were looking up for the following year.
Yeah. Now, the next year, you go 9-7.
Right.
Myers goes over and resigns in the middle of the year. Ray Berry takes over.
Right.
And now you're moving on to 1985, and that's the year that the Patriots unexpectedly went over and moved on to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, we kind of put it together in 1985. I think most people in the media, most people, you know, insiders or you know, people who follow the league, thought we had a very good team, that we had a very talented team, and they were right, very accurate. We had a very talented team. New England had been finishing low and drafting high for a number of years, and in '85 we kind of put it together. I think a lot of it was Raymond Berry coming in and having a full year to coach the team. He put together an excellent staff. A lot of these guys were old NFL players and actually long-time NFL assistants who had been around for a long time. And I think the older players on the team really, I think, responded very well to Coach Berry. A lot of it was that Ron Meyer pretty much was on an agenda of really cleaning house. He wanted to start over. He wanted to bring in his own people, wanted to have a little more say in who was drafted, who made the team, that type of thing. And when the Sullivan family hired Raymond, they kind of said, look, this is what we have. We feel we have enough, on paper to go out there and get it done. And, do you want to come in and just coach the team and see what happens? And Raymond agreed to that, and it was the best thing. He came in, wasn't interested in trading away a lot of quality guys who could play like Ron Meyer. I think him and his staff had interest in doing, and these guys came in and coached what we had, and everything just kind of came together.
Yeah. Now, the Patriots the Steelers followed the same road that the Patriots did.
Right.
You 3 away games, you won 3 away, you move on to the Super Bowl.
Right.
All right, and then in the Super Bowl you play Chicago,
right,
and got your butts beat big time, 46-10, in Super Bowl 20. You were hurt after the 5th game and really never played after that.
Right.
Let us live vicariously through you. Tell us about give us an idea of what Super Bowl is like for a player, Toby,
Yeah. Well,
even though you weren't playing.
Right. For us, a lot of people, fans don't remember that we actually played the Bears in 1985 early in the season. And I like you said, I think I played in maybe 5 or 6 games and then went down with a knee injury. But for me, the biggest thing about playing Chicago in 1985 early in the year was watching William Perry, because I heard so much about him, and I played against him in college at Clemson, and I can remember being at the Orange Bowl and actually seeing him his freshman year, and I think he was 300 pounds, 315 pounds or so. But
Toby, excuse me, what are we looking at here?
This is the championship ring for the AFC conference in 1985, right.
Now, we can't read what's on it. What's it say?
New England Patriots across the top,
yeah.
And I think it might say AFC champions on the bottom, and then on the side I think there's 1985 written out, and there might be Pat the Patriot might be emblossomed on there somewhere a little bit, and nice diamond in the middle. But it's a nice ring. Of all the championship rings I've seen, that's one of the nicer ones.
Yeah. So you were talking about the refrigerator.
Yeah, he had come in, and everybody was talking about him a little bit, the size of him. I think they listed him at 325 pounds. He may have been bigger than that. But I actually wanted to see him just because I couldn't believe how big he was. And we were in Soldier Field, and both teams were spread out, lined up for the playing of the national anthem, and I kind of was looking around for him, and I looked to the right, and I looked all the way down the bench. I didn't see him, and then I looked kind of back to the left, and at first I didn't think he was out there, and then I looked back to the right, and he was way down the other end of the field by himself, and I couldn't believe his size, just the width. He was I think he was 6'2", but he was maybe 6'2" across, but huge. And I was sitting there, shoving guys and pointing at him, and that was something I'll never forget. Just one of the largest guys I've ever seen in a football uniform. But we played them tough. I think they beat us 20-3, and their defense really dominated the game, just like the Super Bowl. We had problems moving the ball. Defensively, I think we played very well. I think they may have scored 13 points on us, but and they scored on defense, and that was kind of the difference in the game. Going into the Super Bowl, we obviously thought we could play with them, and a lot of it was the way we played. I thought our defense really carried us to the Super Bowl in '85. And then, of course, the other thing, too, was Steve Grogan's play, and not only his play, but the fact that he actually called his own plays when he was on the field. So we had a very good team. I think when you put those 2 or 3 elements together, it probably should have been a better matchup, but Steve didn't start the game and really didn't come in until the game was out of hand, and that was a lot, I think, that took away from our team as well.
But they still scored 46 points.
Yeah,
no matter what you said,
Right. They had a great team. They just had a great team.
But they're 15-1 that year.
They were 15-1 in the regular season. I think they lost to Miami in Week 13 down in the Orange Bowl. But like you said, I think even if Steve plays, they probably could have beat us. I think it would have been a different game. I think we would have had a better showing, I think, if Steve played. But as good as they were, and in particular on defense, they still may have won the game. A lot of coaches, a lot of experts still feel that may have been the best defense that the NFL has ever seen.
Toby, what are we looking at here?
That's a ball signed by all the members of that 1985 team.
Yeah.
From I think maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, we had the 20th anniversary at Gillette Stadium for the 1985 team, and the coaches and all the players signed that. And I don't know, I think I played 7 years, and that was the first time I ever got a ball signed.
Oh,
signed
right?
by everybody, yeah. So it's pretty neat.
Now, Toby, in 1986, the Pats moved you to starting nose guard.
Right.
How difficult a transition was it for you to make that defensive change in the fourth year in your fourth year in the NFL?
It was a tough transition physically, not mentally. The nose guard position is a tough position to play. You're basically in a situation where you get whacked every play. A lot of double teams, passing plays. Occasionally you get triple teamed, but there was a need by the team for a nose guard, and at that time they wanted to move, I think, Aaron Veras to end. They wanted to get him on the field a little more because he had pretty much come around and had developed into a good player and a good pass rusher. So the feeling of the coaching staff was to put me inside, have me play there, and I actually enjoyed it. It was a tough transition at the start because you're right over the center, and because of that, things happen a little faster. The ball snapped, and it's kind of like away you go. So I had to get used to the speed of the game because things did happen faster. It was a lot more physical playing on the nose, and you didn't put up the kind of numbers you could possibly put up playing in simply because you were double teamed most of the time. Nowadays you see a lot of teams playing with a 4-man defensive front. We played the whole time I played. Everyone in the league, except a few teams, ran a 3-man front. A 3-man front.
Now, not surprisingly, it's flown by. We got 1 minute left in the show. In 1989, the Pats traded you to Green Bay.
Right.
You got injured in the preseason and basically ended your career.
Right.
With a minute left, what was the highlight of your professional football career, Toby, for you?
I think I would have to say the 1985 season. Not just playing in the Super Bowl, but the way we started. We started out the season struggling a little bit. Like you said, we lost week 3 in Chicago, week 2 or 3. I think week 1 we beat Green Bay at home. But we were really a struggling team early in the year. Really didn't have a lot of identity. I think we were a wild card. We finished the season 11-5. A lot of people don't remember. We barely made the playoffs and wound up going to the Super Bowl. So I think when you throw in that drama and then Steve Grogan coming in and playing at quarterback the way he did, our defense playing the way we did, and eventually getting to the Super Bowl, and just the fanfare in New England, and seeing John Hanna and Steve Grogan, Raymond Claiborne, Stanley Morgan, all these guys who have been around for a lot of years on a good team, finally put it all together.
Great. Well, it sounds like a great career. What I'd like to do is come football season next year, maybe right before the Pats get on, have you come back on the show, talk about the upcoming football season, and then talk about some of the characters that were on the team. But Toby, thank you for sharing your insights into your college and professional football career, and we'll see you back in the fall.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. On the next Good Sports, Pawtucket resident and freshman on the Providence College men's basketball team, Jonathan Colley, returns to Good Sports to discuss his experience in his first year playing for Coach Tim Welch, Providence College Friars. I'm Bill Mulholland for Good Sports. Good night.